Hey everyone, welcome to the Naked Diner live stream Boxing Day spectacular.
The box, maybe. I don't know. Is this a box?
You know, when I was a kid, I thought they called it Boxing Day because it was when everybody packed up all their Christmas ornaments, and it wasn't until much later in life that I found out I was horribly wrong.
I thought it was because by the time the holidays you're ready to box anyone in your family.
My child, a 14-year-old child, believed that it had something to do with boxing. Maybe some kind of professional fisticuffs.
What does it mean? Somebody explain it to me. I'm just a dumb, regular American.
Rich British people would give their servants a box of was essentially an annual holiday bonus on the 26th after they worked Christmas because the rich people aren't going to cook their own turkey and shit, or goose, I guess it would be in England. But, you know, they're not going to do their own meal later just because it's Christmas.
It's basically Christmas for the plebs.
Yeah,
Right.
Poor folks take the next day off.
So, do they have Christmas in Canada, or is it just Boxing Day?
They have Christmas and Boxing, the best of both worlds.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, I don't know anything about this. Are there Boxing Day traditions in Canada that we're missing out on here down under?
There is Boxing Day in Canada as well.
I think the closest equivalent in the United States would be tipping your UPS driver on Christmas Eve for being such a good sport about the whole thing.
Because he's working on Christmas. Okay.
It is an official bank holiday in the United Kingdom, as I understand it. Anyone's been over there on the bank holiday. Most of the country basically closes down.
Yeah.
You still close as opposed to here where 26 everything is back up and running.
All the Valentine's shit is already up at this point, right?
Yeah, and by Valentine's Day, Easter shit will be out. So yeah. We like jumping the gun.
Yeah. Well, it's more time to squeeze money out of the population.
It always really bums me out when November 1st, the day you're still nursing your Halloween hangover, and you go to the store and they've got Christmas shit out.
Yeah. Well, what are you gonna do?
Well, it's a good question just in general, isn't it? Going into 2020, just what are you gonna do?
Well,
I opted for the dirty Tom Selleck, Burt Reynolds.
I think it's very fetching.
Well, thank you, sir. Jack?
Sorry, no, I was just looking at a thing. I gotta.
Okay. So you have nothing nice to say about my
Well, I've got a message on this. Andy, can you go check the stream real quick?
Well, I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, and everything looks okay?
Everything looks fine.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lag, of course, between us talking and what's going on in the screen. But if anyone puts on a comment, then yes, I will be able to address it in real time.
All right, good. I was just making sure. I just had a notification in the window. I want to make sure. So, all right, we're going to do a quiz. Yeah?
Well, we should talk about what we did for Christmas, right?
Yeah.
We're very different people. We have Jack, who's a Satanist.
Yeah, but I also have a 7-month-old baby, so we did Christmas, damn it. I stayed up very late setting up the tree and wrapping all the presents and, you know.
So you set up a Christmas tree on Christmas Eve?
No, we had it set up, but we hadn't put the ornaments on until Christmas Eve.
And
we had it up with the lights on. Well, there wasn't much of a strategy. We just didn't get to it. And then I was wrapping the presents on Christmas Eve, and I'm like, well, I'll throw some ornaments on the tree, too. And so I did. Just to make it look all pretty when she came downstairs, you know?
Oh, nice.
But when the kid is as young as yours is, does she really know?
I have no idea. That's a thought that I've been... Because you watch kids when you have one, and they're new, right?
I hope so.
And then they just they hit this phase where, like, they start having dreams, and you've got to wonder, like... Just in like the way we know that we program AI now, it's got to kind of be a same thing, and it's got to be a weird head trip for a pre-verbal baby having those first few dreams and not being able to differentiate between reality and dreaming yet, like not knowing they're different things. That's got to be weird. I mean, presumably we all went through it. We don't remember it, but it's got to be a weird
So
experience.
what I'm hearing from you is that now in your child's waking / sleeping fugue state, there is a Christmas tree.
I mean, buried in there somewhere, right?
Sure.
They're all just
Well,
sponges at this point for data.
I don't know if you've seen the picture of the cat seeing the Christmas tree for the first time, and the cat's looking up, and the Christmas tree is reflected in its eyes, and it has the look on it.
No, I haven't seen that.
It is pretty magical. It is a slice of Christmas magic. Sam Slade, what did you do for Christmas?
I spent some time with my folks and one of the Slade brothers night before Christmas Eve, and then I returned to an undisclosed location in Texas to enjoy the rest of my Christmas.
An undisclosed location. It sounds like you're in a bunker. Are you in a bunker?
More of a guest bedroom, but either way. I got this shirt, and I know it's very confusing because it looks nearly identical to the one I wore on Andy's Best Advice show. But it's not. If you look close, it's a much different shirt.
Oh, very good, very good, very good. So I'm in Houston, Texas right now. I don't know how many Houstons there may be in the country, but my girlfriend's parents live down here. So it was the first time I met them, and I brought my 14-year-old kid with me too. And so it was an interesting experience getting everyone to know each other. A little slice of magic down here. In Houston, I did pass by Joel Osteen's church.
Did you really?
Oh, of course, Lakeland, right? Lakeland Church. And so I went in a little tirade about Joel Osteen. But my kid got one of those switches, one of those video game console switches.
Oh, yeah.
And so they were lost playing as I was emitting out Joel Osteen facts.
Now, if I didn't know better, I would guess that Andy went out of his way to drive by the Joel Osteen church.
I didn't, because we were my girlfriend was taking us a tour around Rice University today, and we went to the Space Center, and we were just driving all around Houston. And whether you like it or not, Joel Osteen, that church is so big, you're bound to come across it at some point.
It's so funny that you're down there around Rice late last night. My lady friend and I looking for, kind of Christmas movied out a little bit by late last night. We've seen all the hits and you already know them and you can recite them. We came across, flipping through channels, JFK's moon speech from Rice.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Intense. And, until my girlfriend told me, hey, that was done at Rice University, I had no idea.
Yeah. And, I've seen it a million times, whatever. We lucked out by it. We turned it on right before the big finish of we do things because they are hard, not because they are easy. We will go to the moon, or I will be blood on the concrete and won't be able to bitch about it if we don't. I noticed something. LBJ is sitting behind him, and I've never seen anyone look so uninterested in anything ever in my life. LBJ is behind JFK, just
yeah.
He's checking his pockets. He's going through old receipts he found in his coat. So yeah, funny tie-in. Not really a Christmas show, but we enjoyed it.
Sure. Those the words to his go to the moon speech are on or are in Square, and if you go down John F. Kennedy Drive there, they're right on these two pillars on a park, and so I've known the words for a while, and of course I'm acquainted with the speech, hearing it. But yeah, until I knew it was at Rice University, I had no idea. It was like a light switch coming on. It was pretty awesome.
I knew, from early on, knowing you, Andy, that you were a huge JFK fan before we ever talked about it, because you had let me know that you had two secretaries named Tweedledee and Tweedledum that you regularly had threesomes with.
Right. Well, thank you for bringing that up.
That's one of those JFK facts you're like, maybe we don't bring that one up. That's kind of a filthy one.
Yeah. All right. So that's what we all did for Christmas. And so what are you going to do? We're going to do some question and answers.
I
That's
believe
it.
so. I
Yeah,
have
hey,
some
let's start
questions.
it off. I've got some trivia stuff, but let's start it off nice and warm and fuzzy because it's Christmas. I do want to know this, Jack. Before this year, when was the last time you did Christmas?
Like, I mean, it's been more than a few years. I usually do. I just have a vaguely general December where I'll go to a few friends' parties, and on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I generally didn't do too much of any. Like, I wouldn't go out really because going to the mall sucks. I think one year I went to see a Star Wars. I did like to go to the zoo for a bit because they're open on Christmas.
Which is that's just unfair to the animals. They celebrate too.
Well, those animals have Boxing Day, my friend.
Apparently so, right? They're making the animals work on Christmas.
Right. The next day they have off to eat the leftovers.
I was just talking about it with some folks yesterday on Christmas about the fact that San Antonio Zoo still has the most depressed polar bear in the fucking world.
How depressed is it?
I'm so glad you
polar
asked.
bear in San Antonio. How happy can it
I
be?
don't have any. Yeah, no, I don't have a punchline to that. I'll just say he always looks starving and miserable. And if he had thumbs, he'd be trying to tie a noose.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then I had a question for Andy. Well, it's just going to be for everybody. Favorite? I got to ask Jack before we do this. Did you do Christmas as a kid?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Your favorite Christmas present you ever got?
Ooh.
Both of you. We'll go all the way around the horn.
Favorite Christmas present I ever got?
Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah. Oh, the original.
Oh yeah, hardcore. The original. So for those of you in the audience who aren't aware of what a Stretch Armstrong is, it was a doll, a figure that was full of some kind, and I imagine it was full of some kind of horrible toxic chemicals. Maybe.
Absolutely. It was kind of the stress ball material.
It was the stress ball material, and you could take this figure. Stretch Armstrong was a male character, and you could take his arms and stretch those arms to an insane length, as well as his legs. So you could draw and quarter him in some strange, if you wanted to torture a figure, you could do that to Stretch Armstrong, and he'd be okay with it because he's like Mr. Elastic Man or Mr. Fantastic. That's it, from the Fantastic.
There you go. And Andy, as a kid, I got the remake of Stretch Armstrong when they redid it in the 90s.
Sure. So
now, I was never clear. Was Stretch Armstrong, was he fighting crime? Was he just a dude going to work? Like, I was never clear on that.
Well, I feel like I'm going to be grandpa here. Well, when I was a boy, I always felt Stretch Armstrong. I'm going to have my cane here. I have some wrapping paper, so I'm going to use my cane. As a boy, Stretch Armstrong always struck me as a strong man from the carnival.
Okay.
Right, as a weightlifter.
Right.
Like the strongman. Yeah, carnival strongman. Yeah.
Right, but he was Stretch Armstrong. See, his arms were strong, though you could stretch them in a variety of ways.
Sure. It was a play on words. A little on the nose.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
You're not talking about subtlety for the 7 and 9-year-old sets there.
Right. I want to say that at some point there was a Stretch Armstrong cartoon. Is that?
I mean, there was a weird phase in the 80s where everything had. There was a Rubik's Cube cartoon.
Everything.
Tell me about the Rubik's Cube cartoon.
They had it was all I remember is there was a Rubik's Cube, and whenever they solved the cube, it would get a face and legs, and it would scamper around and help them do, I don't know, probably solve puzzles. I never really watched it that closely.
It was like Scooby-Doo with the Rubik's Cube.
Kinda.
I don't remember that at all, man. That's deep cut.
Yeah, that was a weird. That came out the same year as the. Remember the one where the kid turned into a car whenever he got wet for some reason? The 80s were weird. Yeah. All the cartoon makers were on way too much cocaine. There was no excuse for any of it.
Every movie got a cartoon and toys back then in the 80s too, because that's when I was coming up, and like you didn't understand when a movie came out that didn't get a toy. I mean, or a cartoon. You know, you were like, what do you mean? What do you mean they're not going to have an animated version?
I saw an episode of Beetlejuice, the cartoon series, on the big screen. There was this really cool. It was right in Harvard Square, and it was a cereal and cartoon day. So you could get all the cereal you can fucking shovel into your pie hole. See, I keep doing that, and that's not good. And you could feed as much cereal as you want, and then watch the cartoons as well as the shitty commercials and product placements.
Yeah,
too.
see, that's where the money is.
You would have a
Those
commercial from the 80s.
They're so much fun.
And then you'd see that, and it was. I brought my kids there, and as well as girlfriend, and it had a really good time.
That's so cool. We did just before we did. The lady friend and I a couple weeks ago got lost on YouTube watching old '80s toy commercials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
dude. I mean, we lost a good 2.5 hours. I mean, just everything. That's a fun Sunday.
It is, sure enough. So, Jack, what was your favorite toy?
Or gift, Andy. It doesn't have to be a toy.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I vaguely remember when I was really young getting like a Disney-themed toy guitar that I really, really loved, like for a very long time.
Who was on it? What made it Disney? Like what?
You know, there was like Donald and Mickey stickers or whatever, but the fact that it was a guitar was the cool part. You know.
Okay, that's cool. That's pretty cool. It was a kid-sized guitar.
Yeah, and just cheap-ass plastic strings, and it was all plastic. Sounded like shit, but that's okay because I didn't know how to play guitar. I was 4.
Yeah, you had to pay your dues, Jack.
So did you make a deal with the devil, and now this is why you're such a great guitarist and a Satanist at the same time?
A terrible guitarist.
Well, that's a shitty deal with the devil, my friend.
That's okay because Robert Johnson lost his wife and kids, so once.
I'll have to say for me, the coolest Christmas gift I can remember was waking up one morning, going out to the living room to find damn near every piece of the Pee Wee Herman action figure set and the Playhouse, not only like unwrapped as if Santa left it, but like posed in full FAO Schwartz like display. That was cool. And then Pee Wee got busted jacking off in that movie theater. So.
Well, Santa, that was an act of love to have.
I mean, it would have to be.
You know, well, that's funny. This is true.
I was talking about it yesterday on Christmas. There was one year where my dad, we got a swing set, and we had a little house in South Austin. My folks were still together. My dad set up the entire swing set in the living room.
Wow.
Like wrenches and everything, only to realize
he had to get it
there's
outside.
no way we're going to get that out and sliding glass door. Had to take it all apart. I think he took a couple, like there were about good 2 days where he just let it sit there out of anger before we started taking it down to put it back together.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see how that would be an issue.
See, the trick is you gotta take it, you assemble it in the backyard, but then use all the boxes to make another fort inside.
Exactly.
That's how you do that.
That's the move. Guys, real quick.
Oh, no, go ahead.
A quick one. Favorite Christmas tradition your family did growing up? There's no right or wrong answers.
Fish and pierogies.
What
Fish and pierogies.
What kind of pierogies? You can't leave us hanging. We need.
My grandma's pierogies. Okay, you first you boil the pierogies and then you layer them into a casserole dish with just way too much butter and onions, and then bake that until it gets kind of crispy on the top, and then you just start spooning it into your maw.
What is the filling in them?
Potato and cheese.
Oh yeah, I'm all about that.
Good stuff. Terrible for you, but great stuff. But we were Orthodox Catholic, so we had very simple Christmas Eve. It was just this plain fried fish and the pierogies and a salad. Like that was it. We didn't go all out with fancy food until Christmas Day.
Well, and nobody was opening presents on Christmas Eve. You didn't even get like that tease one
No, you
present.
did get
Like
the
we
one
got,
present tease.
you got the one.
Yeah, after dinner, before bed. Mm-hmm.
I love that tradition, the one present.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
That's for me. I went to Christmas Eve service, obviously, as a good Baptist. I mean, that was probably yeah. That's the
That was
same.
your favorite tradition was Christmas Eve Baptist service?
Dude, if you weren't brought up in the faith and the fervent faith, then you wouldn't understand. I'm talking to all who grew up. Yeah, it was magical experience.
But it's so crazy to hear you say that of all people that I know, because you're such an outspoken atheist these days.
Well,
so
yeah,
what was so fun for you?
Well, it's. I was trying to explain to my kids the other day what a religious experience actually is, and when you think about it psychologically, it's somewhat tough to put into words to a person who's never had it before. But and there's a full range of religious experiences, but definitely one of them was, at a candlelight service on Christmas Eve, where something something magical is about to happen, right? The lights are down, candles are lit, music. It's a very mystical. It's a mystical experience too.
Did you know? Was there also like the excitement of you knew kids that were going to be there, and there were kids you may only see at that thing, or was it
Absolutely not? As many believers know that the candlelight service typically is for the hardcore people who want to attend. There's always like Christmas Day or the Christmas service, but the Christmas Eve service are for the very motivated, and typically the kids were not there. But I remember walking there, because church was within walking distance, even on the hard streets of Brockton. I could walk there when I was in middle school, and so it was. And also, it was also the cantata too, which wasn't on Christmas Day, but it was basically Handel's Messiah, or parts of Handel's Messiah that the church that I went to, their choir was doing, or our choir was doing. But typically, we were involved with another church choir too to do parts of Handel's Messiah. Really, and if you like Handel's Messiah as a non-believer, you definitely love it as a believer. Well, I brought, once again, my kid and my girlfriend over to Handel's Messiah over at Symphony Hall. And even though, my kid couldn't enjoy it, it's just totally different. When even as an atheist, you still have those heartstrings being plucked from certain verses in certain songs. Yeah, it's a sublime experience in some ways.
It's so interesting to hear you say that. And basically, like through my filter, it sounds like, if you think you like The Godfather, imagine if you were Italian.
No, it's totally fucking right about that. Or even if you were in the business, right? Because if you're in the business, mobstering, then you look at like The Sopranos a certain different way than what us civilians would, let's say.
Sure.
Yeah. How about you, Sam?
Oh, my mom and dad throwing plates at each other on Christmas Eve.
Dude, I love that. That's great.
I'm kidding. It wasn't always like that. You know what we did? It was a lot of Christmas Vacation. It was a lot of Christmas movies. For my dad's money, it was driving around and looking at all just the asshole husbands and dads around the neighborhood who had to go berserk with Christmas decorations. So we could not only be impressed, but my dad go, "You dummy, how did you get talked into that?"
Yeah.
But Austin, man, they go all out. We got the big Zilker Christmas tree. That was always fun as a kid. Zilker Park has a massive Christmas tree. It's like the big Christmas event in Austin, and you go and there's a little kind of like fake North Pole town set up, and you get hot chocolate and there's bands, and you spin under the tree until you puke. So it's it's fun.
Well, the puking itself is fun. I mean, sometimes I drink myself silly just so I can puke.
Yeah, and when you get to the age where your stomach is filled with bleeding ulcers, you just are puking anyways.
Well, we should let's now you bring that up, and so I don't want to bury the lead here. But how are you doing health-wise, Mr. Sam?
I don't want to get too into it on Christmas. I will say what I know at this point is there's got to be like a real serious push and serious effort to get healthy in 2020 for this guy. I mean, I've never been at a point where I have to eat such bland food and be so careful. And I can already tell I've lost a lot of weight since these things showed up because I had the throat scope thing.
Yep.
And basically 4 big ulcers, 3 on one side, 1 on another, and then 1 about right here. And yeah, they're not doing well. And then there's a test that, and I'm not trying to jinx it in the middle of the game. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the still don't have those results back because they ran it again. But I know that it's the kind of deal where you're not super confident once they start running the test again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've talked to you about it, and I'm sure, but it's Christmas, guys. Come on.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, you're if you, I ask out of concern. That's what
I know. You only ask because you love me, and I appreciate that. I just don't want to bump people on the Christmas episode because as soon as we finish up, I'm going to literally sprint across the hall and pee out of my butt. So,
excellent. That's a Christmas miracle of some kind right there.
It so is. I got to tell you, the lady friend is over it.
Right.
We're at a point where I didn't think at 33 I'd be getting a look from someone I'm dating going like, "Are you sure you can eat that? Is that really what we're going to do tonight?" And you're like, and then you put it back on the tray and you're like, okay.
I will tell you this as a person who has grown up with a minor not so minor at some point disability, is that I look at people who have been relatively healthy, and I'm somewhat thankful to my gracious God that I was born sick in some ways. So when something does go wrong in my body,
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's it's a scary deal, and it's definitely one of those things where man, I thought this was going to happen like way later than 33.
Yeah.
Like first time in my life where I feel like, man, things are breaking down around here. Like I got to find that cyborg Terminator body to upload my brain into.
Yeah. So over the next couple of weeks, as you find out more, you're gonna be in my thoughts.
I definitely will, and I've been doing my best to try to not worry about it, not obsess about it, not get carried away and add more stress. But guys, that's super depressing. Let's do some quick round Christmas trivia. What do you say?
Sure.
Okay, our first topic is the 1989 hit Christmas Vacation.
Yes.
Each one of these topics only have 3 questions. Yes, I am keeping score.
Okay.
Pressure's
in National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, what did Clark Griswold plan to buy with his Christmas bonus? One at a time.
I'm gonna go with, and I'm just guessing. I'm just stabbing at this. I'm just launching a little jab out there. Knowing him, knowing the Griswolds, and let me say this before I give my shitty and wrong answer. I'm thinking that he would do something that's family oriented.
Yes.
Right, that everyone in his family would enjoy.
Yes.
Well, that he thinks everyone that his family would enjoy. That's key.
Right. Yes.
So I'm going to go with what I've seen a lot of dopey white guys do with their money, and that would be to buy a boat.
Okay. Jack? It's clear neither one of you ever seen this classic. So
no, we've seen it, but I mean...
It's been years.
I'm going to go with...
It's been on for the last 48 hours on 35 channels.
I'm going to go with big screen TV.
Jack was closer. I think we have to award him the point because it was a pool.
A pool. Mine was water-based.
That's what I'm saying. No, I'm sorry. We're going to give it to Andy. I'm sorry. I meant we're giving it to Andy. That's one for Andy because it is a pool, and he did not get his Christmas bonus. And cousin Eddie kidnapped the boss and brought him to the house, made a whole thing out of it.
Really hard to
Oh,
put
yeah,
a
I
pool
just saw-
in the winter anyway. But
And in Chicago. What Lindsey Buckingham song is featured in every vacation movie?
Oh, it's Button Holiday Road.
All right, Jack.
I don't know what the name of that song is.
The name of the song is Holiday Road. That's
Yeah.
Andy too. Okay, we're going to give. Okay, here we go.
And that wasn't a guess. I knew that Lindsey Buckingham sang that song.
I didn't know that until like a few days ago. It was Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a married couple that lives next door to the Griswolds. Who plays the wife? She's quite a big deal. She's very respected female comedic actress. Beloved even. Relevant. Still relevant.
Still relevant. So we're going to go with comedic actress, not a comedian. And someone probably age adjacent, age congruent with Chevy Chase at the time.
Ish.
Also a SNL alum.
Possibly.
Oh, good one, Jack. So we are gonna call. So we're gonna
Still
obviously
relevant.
disregard the giants of female comedy actresses.
It's definitely not the first cast. It's definitely not. It's not. Gilda, Lorraine, or anybody like that.
Right. Yes, it could. Yes, exactly. It couldn't be them. Does this woman, did she star in her own set of movies? Or was she always kind of like a complimentary character?
She has starred in her own sitcom many times.
Her own sitcom?
Many times. Or at least a few times.
A few times. All right.
In her own
So
sitcom.
now I'm going to
many
feel
times.
stupid because you have someone from SNL,
Mm-hmm.
a woman.
Well, it is. I'll say this, Andy. It's somebody that you never think of being an SNL alum. It was that period when Lauren left, and like just all kinds of people ended up on SNL.
Yeah. Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Jack.
I'm gonna go Victoria
Just-
Jackson just
just
because
do-
that's
do-
the only one I can think of sticking in that role off the top of my head.
Victoria Jackson had not yet appeared on SNL by '89. The answer is Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
She was on the show the same time Larry David was, as I recall.
Yes.
They were in the same show for like a year during that show that the series, wasn't that great. And
The season that almost got SNL canceled.
Right. Yeah.
I think Robert Downey Jr. and Anthony Michael Hall and Jim Belushi and Gilbert Gottfried, maybe.
Wow. It's so many people have gone through that show. It's difficult to keep track of everyone. But yeah, I've listened to Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Larry David together in an interview talk about their time on Saturday Night Live. And suppose no one did any of his sketches.
ever. I love that the episode of Seinfeld where George quits his job and then shows up on Monday.
Yep.
And just pretend like I didn't get fired or I didn't quit.
Sure.
That's what Larry did. He got mad because none of his sketches were making it. He quit on Saturday night after the show, showed up on Monday like nothing had happened. But Lauren wasn't around. Dick Ebersol was running the show. So
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for our Christmas vacation.
I think I crushed that.
You went 3-0.
Yeah, well.
It's not surprising. Jack hates Christmas.
Right.
We'll now move to some quick, and these aren't too deep track, Home Alone questions.
Okay.
Home Alone 1. Where did Kevin's parents go for vacation
Paris.
when he got left? Okay, Andy?
I'm going to say what Jack said.
The correct answer is, in fact, Paris. That's going to be everybody's getting a point.
Sorry, Jack. You shouldn't be acting
I think
so
I think
certain,
we
my
need to
friend.
write. There needs to be a written thing where we write down our answers first. We need to work on this format if we're going to do it right.
I like it because I'm going to game. I'm going to try to game this whole game system here, and just even when I know an answer, I'm going to be like, I don't know. Maybe it could be this. Maybe it could be
I'm
that.
going to
So the
not
only thing
care
that
because no
makes
one's paying me to
that
be here. So
oh wow.
It's
All right,
Christmas. Let's be nice to each other, please. It's Boxing Day for Christmas.
let's give us another question here.
When Kevin is home alone, he makes it look like there's a Christmas party going on in his house by using a bunch of cutouts on a train set. What NBA player is involved in that mix? The cutout of, not the actual actor or athlete.
Larry Bird.
Okay.
what'd you say, Andy?
I said Larry Bird.
He said
I'm going to
Bird.
go
Bird.
Scottie Pippen.
And you know what? I was going to say motherfucking Michael Jordan.
And you would have been correct, but you went with Larry Bird because you're a
you know
racist.
what? Because I'm Boston. That's why.
Right. That's
And
right.
we all know Larry Bird was a better player. So that's all there is to it.
I'll be honest with you guys, I had to school up the lady friend on some Larry Bird a few weeks ago.
I really, huh?
Man, what about the game where he fell, hit his head? Remember that, Andy? He busted his head on the wood, comes back after halftime, drops like 25 with the concussion.
Well, well, back then there weren't concussions. You were just dinged.
Right. But, I mean, you go back and watch it, that is a straight-up head injury.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It is amazing what, you hear about hockey players playing without head equipment, right? Without helmets back in the day. And it is incredible what they had to deal with. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I mean, I think about when I played middle school football and the shit that they allowed. I mean, I remember getting screamed at for not hitting with my head. I mean, seriously, in Austin. That wasn't in West Texas. That was Austin suburb coaches screaming at me for not bashing my head into people.
Well, your head's fine right now from what I can see.
The head's fine, but there are, every once in a while you see a thing on ESPN about CTE and you're going, that sounds kind of familiar.
Right.
Depression and impulsivity and
impulsivity. Yeah.
Okay, we only got a couple more rounds of the trivia. Elf, Christmas classic now, new school Christmas classic.
Yeah.
Directed by the man that brought us The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau.
We're not going to talk about that right now.
No, we're not. I've already seen Star Wars twice. How many times have y'all seen it?
I just know The Mandalorian's a pile of stinking trash, but I'm not going to talk about that because
I have such mixed feelings about that show because
it's just fucking Baby Yoda. It's a bunch of this fanboys who just want something that doesn't suck and Baby Yoda, and people are fucking creaming their fucking pants over Baby Yoda. And
nothing ever happens. Nothing ever happens.
Fucking trash. If action sequences suck fucking balls. It's like I was watching John Wick the other day, and I'm not saying The Mandalorian needs to have John Wick style gunplay, but if you're a fucking gunfighter, a gunslinger, then make the fucking action sequences somewhat fucking decent, for Christ's sake.
Do something fucking cool. And I hate that I don't have the heart to point this out to my lady friend, but Favreau completely rehashed the move he did in Iron Man where he gets an all silver suit. Remember, he gets new armor and it's all super sleek, cool silver. You're like, dude, you did that with Tony Stark. We've seen this.
Yeah. It's okay. I just went off on, and I promised myself and my own lady friend not to do anything on The Mandalorian since people have this strange fetish about The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda.
So I should, because we're streaming live and it's Christmas, I should not spoil Rise of Skywalker.
You should not. No, please don't. I'm going to see it tomorrow, actually. So
you haven't seen it yet?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Jack, have you seen it?
No.
Jack doesn't have an autistic focus on Star Wars.
Jack doesn't give a fuck.
Honestly, it's near and dear to my heart, and I am just so over Disney that I just I can't get my heart into it anymore.
Well, maybe after everybody's seen it, we can down the road we can discuss it. I don't want to ruin it for people.
No, definitely. I'd be willing to talk about it. Yeah.
I don't want to ruin it for people, but I did spend the night last night driving around to local movie theaters and screaming out spoilers in the parking lot. Just driving.
Good for you, Sam.
Luckily, my lady friend knows how to punch the throttle. I mean, there were people chasing us throwing rocks. Elf. Back to Elf.
Right.
Who played Will Ferrell's biological father?
James Caan.
Jack?
I've never seen this movie.
It is James Caan. I don't know the second Caan.
James Caan.
This is deep track. I didn't want to go deep track, but I love this piece of trivia so much. Who was I just learned this the other day. The actor, comedian even, legend even, originally signed on to play Elf.
I think that Jim Carrey would be a natural fit for that role. I thought about it as I was watching it the other day. Actually.
Did you really?
And I thought Jim Carrey would be a fantastic Elf. He would play it differently, of course, than Will Ferrell. But there's a lot of physical comedy there. There's a lot of naivete in the main character. And Carrey is so tall and lanky. I thought he'd be a natural fit for Elf.
Jack?
You know, knowing that it's Sam, and now that I think about it, I could really see the movie going this way. I'm going to go Chris Farley.
Wow. Boy, that would have been fun, right?
Very funny movie. Yeah.
That would have been a lot of fun. And you're so sweet to remind me that I have like literally only a month on this timeline if I'm going to, kick the bucket at 33. So I'll try to stay on pace. The correct answer is Jim Carrey. I don't know how Andy knew that.
I've written scripts before with people in mind, and I thought, yeah, Jim Carrey would be a natural fit to play Will Ferrell's character in Elf. Yeah.
That never crossed my mind. I think we saw it. We were watching on regular cable they have like the music channels.
Yeah.
We had Christmas music channel on, and so they do trivia like off to the side column.
Yeah,
and they brought the Jim Carrey thing, and I had never heard that before, and it never crossed my mind. But that would have been a real interesting deal. I mean, I'm trying to think of what Jim Carrey was coming off of in like 2000. Was he still silly, or was he starting to do Eternal Sunshine?
I think he was pivoting at that point, as I recall. Because during the 90s was the really heyday of his.
That was in Living Color. Yeah. And then
of the slapstick.
Ace Ventura. I mean, that's when he was a $25 million man. That was a cover of Rolling Stone.
Yeah. So either he was pivoting, or maybe he just wasn't around.
When did Man on the Moon come out? Man on the Moon.
Late 90s, like maybe 98.
So he'd already transitioned by then.
Yeah. So I can see why he wanted to do more meaningful stuff. Dude, Jack, I'm so glad you brought that up. I went back and watched that maybe 3 nights ago.
Great movie.
Dude, it is so good. But man, like if you didn't know the real story or even know that it was a real guy, it would just be this amazing fictional drama about a comedian.
My favorite part of that movie is Jim Carrey's MTV Movie Awards acceptance. He showed up all Jim Morrison-y and just stayed in character the whole night. That was amazing.
That's when we should have known he's not really going to be silly anymore. Because I remember being a kid and he shows up and gets that award and you're like, what is he doing? I got to go back to one more Home Alone question. Joe Pesci played the bad guy next to Daniel Stern. Joe Pesci had another movie released the same year. It was a huge hit. What was it?
My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with too.
It was Goodfellas.
Really?
Goodfellas, damn it.
Goodfellas, and to think that Pesci had that kind of year where he dropped Home Alone and Goodfellas. Talk about cornering everyone's living room. Yeah. Like, you're taking the kids. You're taking your brother.
Yeah, man, I should have. Yeah, that would have been my second guess. Is Goodfellas. Yeah.
I got Side question: have either one of you seen The Irishman?
I saw parts of it, the first maybe 25 minutes of it. And what became difficult for me was imagining Robert De Niro being that young.
Yeah.
Even with all the CGI stuff, it just didn't ring true to me.
You know, they don't, Scorsese did not do the CGI stuff as well as Marvel does. Because when Marvel has done the de-aging, it has been perfect and mind-blowing. Like when Michael Douglas shows up, you're like, what? What old footage is this? And when they did it, The Irishman had this problem where De Niro's supposed to be like 25, but they're using like the face of Casino era De Niro.
Yeah, not the right face.
You're like,
you're talking, what is it, Mean Streets?
Yeah, that's what it should have been.
Yeah, Mean Streets De Niro, and that's a totally different De Niro right there. Yeah.
It's because that's
so
because Disney's got the pockets to throw money at the people who are really good at doing that crap, and all the other studios don't anymore because Disney owns everything.
Okay, before we start ranting against Disney, let's acknowledge the fact that Scorsese is very anti-special effects. So
that too.
That might have burned some bridges with some folks.
Didn't want to budget as much as he needed to for it.
You shouldn't be making a special effects movie if you don't like special effects.
I think we should make a special effects movie, but we should make an entirely CGI movie, but make it look like an old black and white movie with just bad resolution and blurry and
that's what
on purpose.
I was part of a 20-minute film a couple of years ago that was done.
The one where you played God.
The one that I played God, right? And it was done. It was recorded on an iPhone, and 90% of the work was done in post-production because it takes a lot of work to make it look like a movie from 1911.
Wow.
Yeah, and but yeah, it was a great experience.
Dude, I'd love to see it. I would love to see that.
I'm gonna see if I can get you a link for that.
Okay.
Post or something. Yeah, it'll be good.
So you said you only saw the first like 20 minutes or 25 minutes of Irishman?
Yeah, and I couldn't see the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the CGI was that bad for me.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you only have 500.
Yeah, not worth it.
Long movie.
Yeah, not worth the investment for me.
I was at a Christmas party when the Irishman came up, and people were going, "Hey, man, no spoilers." I was like, I don't want you to know Jimmy Hoffa was murdered and disappeared. I don't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for Jimmy. I wouldn't put, I wouldn't put any kind of emotional investment into any story.
It was the same kind of conversation as I had at 7-Eleven a few years ago when a guy in front of me had an Irish accent. And he walks out, and the 7-Eleven guy at the counter goes like, "Hey, man, you sounded real fancy. He should have been in like Titanic or the sequel."
The sequel to Titanic.
And I go,
yeah.
It might be tough.
It might be tough.
Last elf question. Who did Bob Newhart play?
It was his adoptive father.
Jack?
I'll go with that. Again,
okay,
haven't seen this movie.
Everybody gets a point. And we are out of trivia questions. So we ended up at a 7-2.
That was respectable. Considering I won, that was respectable.
I'm fine with
I
that.
was concerned halfway through that Jack was going to think that Andy and I had been colluding.
No. But I mean, questions from the 80s.
And also about comedy, too. I mean, speaking as
it's not as much my wheelhouse as a lot of other things, right? Like, I mean, I've got my little personal research areas where I know lots of stuff, but
right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys put me in charge of the question, so that's what you get.
Oh, I'm happy.
No, I'm fine with it.
Trophy.
And I got to show how much useless information I actually have. I have very little information that will make me real money or cash in any way, shape, or form. But this trivia stuff about Elf, crushing it.
You crushed it with you crushed it on a number list. You crushed it on Home Alone too. Until you said Larry Bird, just because you listened to your bias.
Right.
So that's all I got, guys. You guys take it away. Go. I hand it over to you.
Well, I saw this movie, and which I believe is now a Christmas movie. There's a few non-Christmas movies I watch every year. One of which is Die Hard, of course. But I think My Nana and the Apocalypse, which is about it's a musical which happens around Christmas time, and it's about zombies taking over a small Scottish town. And if you haven't seen Anna and the Apocalypse, and if you're a fan of Shaun of the Dead and jaunty musicals that occur during the zombie, it's definitely worth a watch. I've seen it 4 times, and I just saw it again last night. And it's definitely worth it.
Hey, either one of you guys, have you guys seen The Joker? I rewatched it the other night on the night before Christmas Eve.
You've seen that, Jack?
No, I haven't watched it yet. I know seems like a thing, but I can't bring myself to justify going to the movies. And right now, it's only like buy an HD, and I don't need HD. I'll wait and watch it in standard definition, and like I'm fine with that.
Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that Jack would really get into Joker.
Oh no, absolutely. I am a huge fan of the character. Like,
yeah, Jack is a big fan, and he would probably appreciate it in ways that I did not or could not, because I'm not such a huge fan of the Joker. But definitely in terms of filmmaking and storytelling, I mean, the storytelling is really, outside of effect of the movie, it's really the storytelling that catches your eye about what's real, what's not real, how
there's
the director.
A lot of the stuff that I've seen, like there are a bunch of old Joker stories that they weren't comics. It was like a serialized short story collection thing. And there was one in there called Dying is Easy, Comedy is Hard, where the Joker like takes over a stand-up theater that I think they pulled some of the same jokes from for the movie, Well,
it was
a great story.
When I saw Joker, and I saw Gary Gulman playing a big role on that. Do you know Gary Gulman, Sam?
Yeah, I just watched The Great Depression. I loved it. We saw him he was on Conan last night. I think it was a rerun. I loved The Great Depression, but it was really cool to see Goldman as like the headliner at the club, when Joker's sitting in the audience and, he's laughing in the wrong moments,
Right. Yeah. And of course, Goldman's a Boston boy, right?
Yeah.
He grew up in the Boston area, went to BC with a football scholarship. So, and I met Gary before too, really sweet guy. After having just watched The Great Depression, which everyone should see, which is what is it? It's an HBO movie, isn't it?
It's HBO. Apatow produced it, and it's one of the best. Andy, I won't even say stand-up specials. I'll say documentaries about mental health.
It really is. Yeah. It's definitely so. What it is, it's about Gary's journey with depression, as well as interspaced in there is a stand-up routine about depression. And if you have anyone in your personal life that is going through depression, or if you know someone who's a comedian, may surprisingly not be depressed, it's definitely worth seeing. It's The Great Depression. It's something worth your hour and a half or so.
It's a really good special, dude. And it's so cool because it's got such a bigger message and a bigger conversation that takes place, Like I just watched Dan Soder's new special, and it's all just shit that dudes my age would talk about at parties about, like eating edibles and, back trying to sneak porn off the computer when you're a teenager, like in the late 90s. But the Goldman special, it was, I think that's a piece of art that's really going to go a long way to address an issue that doesn't get the attention or the focus.
Yeah. And I think different comedians at different times in their career do different types of material. So if you're a new, younger comedian, you want to hit a good audience and try to, bring people in. Goldman's a soldier in the field. I mean, he's worked on a lot of different projects. He does a stand-up, of course. and this was the right time for him to come out with this. You know,
I mean, Andy, to be honest with you, I didn't know him from anything prior to this other than when Dane Cook had that reality show about being on tour. He was part of the group. Like Tourism. That's the only thing I knew him from. So I didn't know him as like this deep thinker, very introspective, philosophical guy. I just thought he was like one of the, some Dane Cook middle act.
Yeah. He is so much more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good to hear that, or good to see that he is getting his issues. He seems to be able to manage the depression.
And it's extremely inspiring and motivating if you deal with those kind of issues. I know I walked away going like, okay, like this is something you can, this is something that you can battle and you can come back from. I mean, what did it say, Andy? He went back and lived with his mom for like 3 years, 2.5 years.
Well, he was so bad, he was in an inpatient ward,
mm-hmm.
And I don't know if anyone in the audience knows how difficult it is.
I'm going to step out of camera for a second, but I can still hear you.
Sure. To be in an inpatient psych ward for days, and he was in there for days.
No, but he was in there for more than a couple months.
Yeah, he was. You have to get in, you have to be an imminent threat to self or others, right? Because there are only a certain number of beds in these facilities, and they're, at times a very long waiting line to get in.
Yeah, it's got to be.
He was in a dark place, and very lucky to get into a good facility, because not all inpatient facilities are good. And it sounds like he got the right kind of help. And he's also what's that?
Extremely supportive family and spouse, which makes all the difference in the world.
It does. Having the right support system is incredibly important. And when you're inpatient like that, because, for people who don't know me, I've worked in the human service field for 25 years. So I've been working with guys who have brain injuries, people with developmental disabilities from birth. And I've seen people go into lockup and out of lockup. And some of the people I served were people who came out of lockup after being in years in lockup. One of the big goals is when you are in a locked door unit is getting your medication correct, right?
Which was a big storyline in the Joker.
Oh yeah. That the Joker is really about the failings of the mental health system and the problems of what happens when you're mentally ill. Is the fact that you can't advocate for yourself well. And it really is a labyrinth of services that you have to deal with when you're on disability, for example. And you hear stories about the government, for example, putting on these extra barriers between people and services. And a lot of people who already are cognitively impaired cannot do that jump through the hoop. And
without somebody helping, right? They don't have the ability to take care of it by themselves, and then they turn into the greatest supervillain in history.
Yeah, well, prison, the biggest provider of mental health services in this country are prisons, whether we like it or not.
That doesn't mean they're great mental health services.
They are horrible, and it's tragic, and it isn't like that in most industrialized countries.
And I love talking about mental health programs in prison on Christmas.
Well, more than once, as soon as comedians stop being funny, as soon as funny people stop being funny, it's like, well, let me tell you about what it takes to get yourself into an inpatient clinic.
Yeah.
In case you weren't aware of that.
I know. I just feel like this year and coming to the end of this year, I don't know if it's Trump fatigue, if it's everything, if it's just where we're at. Like, this Christmas has not felt like past Christmases. Like, people feel disjointed and disconnected, and we're not all as happy and joyful as we've been in Christmases past. And I mean, I know it's a cop out, but when I saw Trump, basically in the new Wonder Woman trailer, Trump is the bad guy. I was like, okay, yeah, it's not just me. Yeah, no, he's the problem. That's what's going on.
Right, right.
Well, did you see
Um,
the Pope said he wasn't a Christian, and Trump started hate
Hmm.
tweeting the Pope?
And then he immediately went to a brand new evangelical church for service yesterday
I
that he'd
tell
never
you,
been
man,
to.
I don't think that the United States Protestants have thought through how they're going to deal with the Orthodox Russian oligarchy. They are not
That's
ready
my
for that. They
biggest
are not
little
ready
joke
for
I've
that
ever
game.
heard.
They're all yeah, we're they because they never liked the Pope anyway, so whatever. That's fine with them. But they're not ready for that money game that's coming. You watch.
it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, basically, Trump and the Republicans are betting on a few things, and one of them is that most people aren't paying attention to, or won't be paying attention to the election or to politics until maybe a month before the election. And what they're going to, I mean, what I would do if I were them, if I was going to put on my evil villain hat, it would just be running, of course, against, AOC, the Squad, Mexicans,
Socialism, Obama.
socialism. It doesn't matter how bad Trump is if you make enough people afraid of these boogie of well, basically brown skinned people, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what.
Exactly. Or just anybody different than you if you're a well off white guy or woman. But also, there's a thing where I think, we got to quit thinking we're going to convince Trump voters to come over to our side. We got to realize this is about turning out people who have been too cool or too apathetic to
Well,
vote.
I think that's part of
Yeah,
the strategy with Pelosi not submitting the
I'll
impeachment
be right back.
stuff yet. Like I think her plan is that she wanted these senators to go home and have to deal with loud vocal protesters showing up at their town halls and shit that they're doing between now and when Congress comes back in session. Like she wants those people turning out to hit them in their hometowns. So when they get back, they can be like, "Oh, maybe we are going to flip. Maybe we have to flip." That's her plan, I think.
right, right. I think that's insightful, Jack. That's yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with you. It was a good move because you gotta let people feel the heat, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You gotta turn up the heat and kind of simmer for a while because that'll create even more. It's a positive feedback loop, right?
Yeah.
So not only are these people agitating directly at their senator, but they're also being vocal about it. So other people who may be on the edge or maybe on the
Right. And well,
fence.
that's the stuff that really really matters is the senators home for the holidays and they go to their local office and there's all these people there and the people who manage those phones are handing them notices saying all these people are calling saying that they're right. Now is the time to
Yeah,
try and
yeah,
flip them with their hometown crowds.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Switching gears a little bit, since I've been in Houston, I have discovered that I am a very, very white man. I am like in Boston, I'm just another white dude, but here I am just like almost a platonic form of white middle-aged man.
Well, Jack and I didn't want to say anything.
Right? Joking around with my girlfriend, it's like I think I can just move down here and just make a living being a white middle-aged man.
We'd be fine. Guys, I'm going to have to take off.
That's all right. We did our solid hour.
You did.
I,
It was a good hour. I think it was a good hour.
I mean, you guys can. I got to take off. I've got to run only because I'm on a borrowed laptop and it's about to die, and I was not provided a charger. Professionalism.
No, it's fine.
Andy, please find yourself. I'm so sorry we're not going to get to hang out on tomorrow or this weekend. Please find yourself a damn good and extremely asshole burning hot breakfast taco before you leave the state. Jack, we're going to work on this Christmas thing.
Work on this. My Christmas was fine.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's just when we start talking Christmas movies, you're like, I don't watch that shit. I'm watching the Rubik's Cube cartoon.
Well, all right. So, all right. Christmas Vacation is just a very old movie. Elf
Wow.
is not my kind of movie.
It's not like I brought up Christmas Carol from '39. I had
There-
trivia questions about old movies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he was
just
like,
saw-
bring it on, bring it on.
Well, that's just how my brain works. I just saw White Christmas for the first time. It's like, I think I can go 10 rounds on White Christmas right now.
Like, let's go. What's up with Holiday Story?
All right,
It's-
so you got to go.
Yeah, I got
this
to
is
run, guy. It was so great getting to see you guys on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
It's so I appreciate you guys explaining to me what Boxing Day was. I thought it was something completely different based on my family. It was great to see you guys. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do this again soon. And let's definitely work on the trivia thing. Let's figure out a format we can do this to where it doesn't seem like me and Andy have been texting each other the answers all day.
Well, maybe we could do like
Good idea.
we could do like
Cheater,
you know what we could do
like a cheater.
we could do like next week we could do like a year in review and they can all be 2019 questions.
Let's figure out. Let's off air. Let's figure out time or a date or whatever. That year in review is more than needed after 2019 with everything that's happened.
Sure, that would be fun.
Very good. All right, guys. I will see you later.
All right,
Merry Christmas, gentlemen.
Merry
Take
Christmas.
care.